I'm very much eliminating distractions for the rest of 2024. That includes maintenance. I just can't anymore. How much money do you spend monthly?
I think anywhere from 300 to like 1,000 for hair.
Nails are 175.
I have microblading, don't do my brows, but I do wax them 20, 30.
You got laser waxing, 150.
That trip to go get like beauty products, face cleansers and all that, 200 to like 400 easily.
And the bag be this little when you walk out.
With nothing in it.
With nothing in it.
How much are you all spending on maintenance monthly? I'm curious to know what that number looks like for you.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time here, hello, welcome. This is Essential Patience and I Am Patience. On this channel, we have conversations about societal impacts on our finances and lives and how to take back our power so that we can make more intentional decisions for our finances and our lives. So if that sounds good to you, be sure to subscribe to this channel because there's so many of these conversations that comes to you on a weekly basis. So welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about the beauty standard, its financial impact, and how people are morphing into Frankenstein's monster. We're going to have so many different parts into this video, but this is a long conversation. I have so much to talk about. I'm trying to explore so many different areas, and I will not be able to hit everything as precisely as possible, but if there's some areas that we want to further explore in the future, I will be sure to do that. And if that sounds good to you, like this video and let's begin. The pursuit of beauty has been a persistent endeavor throughout human history, but modern beauty standards, particularly for women, have been increasingly exacting and pervasive. These standards often compel individuals to alter their natural beauty and appearances in pursuit of an ever-elusive ideal. In many ways, our society's obsession with creating this perfect look of a person is reminiscent of Frankenstein's monster, an artificial being assembled from different parts to meet the visual perfection. In today's video, we're going to be exploring how modern beauty standards reflects the tale of Frankenstein's monster. We're going to delve into theories that will explain beauty and the beauty standards and examine the substantial financial burden that comes with trying to meet these beauty standards and maintain them over time. I'm in no way trying to say that people who get plastic surgery or cosmetic procedures are hideous. Absolutely not. That would be an untrue blanket statement. It depends on the surgeon, probably who they went to, how much they paid. People can look very beautiful. Some of them, they look unhumanly beautiful after plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures. And some of them, not so good. So you can look really good, not so good, and everything in between. Beauty standards have always existed. No matter what time periods came before or will come after, they will probably always exist. And it's influenced by society, the culture, and even technological changes.
Imagine that you are in the Middle Ages, and to fit into the standards of the time, the first step to getting there is to have a big forehead. And if you don't have it, shave it off. Well, women shaved 2 centimeters around their heads. The bigger your forehead, the more sensual you were. The hair had to be as long as possible. There were even reports of hair extensions, although they were not widely accepted by societal norms, which often deemed them sinful. The most coveted shade of hair was linen, and to achieve this color they took goat urine, mixed it with saffron, applied it to their hair, and left it in the sun for hours until the hair dried. The eyelashes were plucked with tweezers and the entire eyebrow was removed with a razor because this was attractive to them. Your body had to be very plump because the chubbier you were, the richer you were to be able to buy food. As hygiene wasn't one of those things, people used herbal bags, similar to tea bags, and left it on intimate body areas and armpits to improve odor.
And throughout the years, there has been several theories that have come along to try to explain the reason we find some people more beautiful than others, especially from culture to culture, from country to country, and even from continent to continent. And typically when we are looking at a lot of the beauty standards of the past, theories that explain it link it to being healthy and being fertile, especially for women. So if you look at a woman with big hips, I guess they say that those are like birthing hips. Men will be more attracted to that. In some cultures, they look at bigger women to be like well-fed women, so you're not being starved. So women will be eating a lot to give off being healthy and coming from a well-off family. But of course, the ones that have always persisted is about clear skin, being healthy, young, and youthful. And one of the ones that I personally hate the most is the symmetrical beauty standard. It's like, how symmetrical is your face? The more symmetrical it is, the more beautiful that you are. And the reason I despise that theory is because of what it has been used to do, more so than the theory itself. Because if it's a theory, it's exactly that. But the way people have used it to disparage other people of different communities, especially minority communities, I find that to be problematic. The one I find to be most believable is the social learning theory. And this theory suggests that our perception of beauty is learned through media, culture, and our environmental exposure shapes our ideas and our ideals for attractiveness and what we consider to be beautiful. In our contemporary society, beauty standards are no longer just culturally specific, but increasingly becoming global. And I'm sure if you're on the internet, you can see how the media continues to propagate a homogenized ideal of a beauty standard that blends features from different ethnic backgrounds or racial backgrounds into one person. At some point, it almost looks creepy. For example, plump lips associated with Africans and African Americans, high cheekbones which are associated with Europeans, and then silky straight hair which is often found in Asian societies. And it's all just put into one beauty standard for people to try to become that ideal. While we can agree that there's some people who are just conventionally attractive or seen as conventionally attractive in our society, we must also not forget the impact of slavery and colonization, not just on our world, but what that meant for our world and what that meant for the beauty standard. As Europeans traveled and traded and colonized and influenced the world, they took along their beauty standards and enforced them in places that they are, making beauty not something that is culturally specific, but becoming morphed into the European beauty standard. So beauty became less regional and more universal. Today, American media is the most popular across the globe, and its representation of blondness, thinness, and whiteness carries along throughout the homes of billions of people across the world. And many people try to emulate these beauty standards, and none more than the people who keep seeing this day after day, not just on TV, but on social media every day, multiple times per day. A 2019 article by Leah Donnella called Beauty in the Eyes of the Colonizer states that the association between beauty and whiteness has proved hard to shake. There is a reason why so many people still think that an all-American beauty as a thin, blonde, blue-eyed woman. It wasn't until 1940 that the rules were changed to allow women of color to enter the Miss America pageant. Before that, the official rules stated that contestants had to be of good health and of the white race. To really understand today's beauty standards, we have to first understand how it is being propagated to the world, which is through the growing access to the internet and to social media. According to a 2023 Pew Research, YouTube by large is the most widely online used platform. 83% of US adults have reportedly used YouTube before. 68% have used Facebook. 47% have used Instagram. 35% have used Pinterest. 33% have used TikTok. 30% have used LinkedIn, 29% have used WhatsApp, 27% have used Snapchat before. X, formerly known as Twitter, came in at 22%, as well as Reddit. So we can see that a lot of people have used some form of social media. It is important to know that these numbers do not denote to the total number of Americans who have used social media or continue to use social media on a daily basis, but rather to reach a conclusion that most people in fact do use some form of social media. For example, I am active on Instagram and on LinkedIn, but I once in a while check in on X, formerly known as Twitter, but I'm not really active on. I also use WhatsApp. I used to use Snapchat, but I've not used Snapchat in years. But then there are people who are exclusively on Facebook. I've never used Facebook. Well, there are people that I'm sure you know, I know, who are active on basically every single social media that you can think of. And I know it's a running joke that older people are the ones who are on Facebook and you're gonna meet your aunt, your grandmother. But there is some level of truth to that because Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok have majority users who are under the age of 30. 78% of people between the ages of 18 and 29 say they have an Instagram account and they use Instagram. This is less than 15% for people over the ages of 65. And only 4% of American adults over the age of 65 say they even use Snapchat. And this is drastically less than people under the age of 30, of which 65% say they do use Snapchat. And for TikTok, 62% of people between the ages of 18 and 29 say that they do use TikTok versus less than 10% of people over the age of 65. And for the people between the ages of 30 and 65, they do use these apps just at a varying rate. And social media is not a bad thing. There's so many benefits to social media, such as keeping in touch with friends and families. I know that's how I keep in touch with a lot of my friends from high school and college. You make new connections, you can find opportunities, and even find love. There are people who find their spouses on social media. You can network with people that maybe you otherwise would never meet. You can learn new information. I mean, you'd be surprised what you can learn on the internet. It's so many things that sometimes I'm like, wow, I definitely did not know this, and I never even thought about this. But beneath all these positives are some sinister realities that manifest on social media platforms. And today we're going to focus on the one in question, which is the pushing of unrealistic beauty standards. Mary Shelley Frankenstein tells a story of Victor Frankenstein, a scientist who creates a being by assembling parts from different corpses. This creature, although intended to be beautiful, becomes a grotesque monster due to its unnatural assembly. Similarly, the modern beauty standard often requires individuals to undergo procedures that combines features from different ethnic backgrounds to achieve a so-called perfect look. And sometimes it gets into that uncanny valley look. This allegory highlights the unnaturalness of the current beauty standards. Just as Frankenstein's monster was a patchwork of various parts, the modern beauty ideal is a composite of traits that do not naturally coexist within any single ethnicity. This pursuit can lead to identity crisis, where individuals lose touch of their natural features and heritage in favor of an artificial standard. So what does today's beauty standard look like? I think we all have an idea, but just in case you don't, let's go over some of the main things that make up today's beauty standard. The first thing is thinness. Thinness makes it up. I know the slim thick look was in, but thin never went away. And when I think of thinness, the first thing that comes to mind is the words of the model Kate Moss. She wasn't even the first to say, she was referring to a previous say, so she didn't come up with this, but it was, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. That was literally her motto, and I know she thought she ate with that. But thinness has never gone away. Slim thick was in. Thinness never went away. We will get into the subculture of beauty, but right now we're talking about on top of society for a global scale. Thin is in. Thin has always been in, at least the past 100 years. And of course, thinness is often associated with whiteness or white ideals, as well as East Asian ideals. And the next one is a medium-sized bust, butt, and lips. This often comes from ideals of blackness. For boobs, I mean, I guess it's international, like black and white fall into either cultures. But when it comes to the butt, the reason why I didn't say it, a huge butt with big butts, is that I think the whole massive butt was more of a subculture thing than it was societal beauty ideal. But I do think butts are in, and now BBLs are becoming smaller. They still exist, but it is much smaller and less of a huge feature that demands your attention. But people can definitely tell when butt is there and when it's not. So that's why it's still in, and it's been in for about the past decade. And then of course the big lips, which is a feature of mostly black people. You can tell that by the rise of lip injections. Lip injections is one of the highest cosmetic procedures being done in the past decade. It's very popular. It's so popular that some people don't even see it as a cosmetic procedure. For some people, it's just part of their beauty regimen. The next beauty standard is tanned white skin, which mimics the look of mixed people, but it's tanned white skin. It's not dark skin. People sometimes want to be like, well, white people want to tan and be like black people. I don't think so. A lot of them want to look tanned, but as a white person. And oftentimes you can tell the difference between a black person who is naturally one skin color versus a white person who tends to look a certain skin color. But I don't think they want to look black, and I never thought of the black fishing, strictly black fishing. I thought it was more so mixed race fishing versus it strictly being a bunch of white people want to be black. I personally find a big difference between it, and maybe one day we'll do a bigger deep dive into it now that we're almost post blackfishing scandals. And then of course, straight hair, preferably blonde. So the straightness will typically be from East Asian, maybe South Asian cultures. I know like Indians, their hair, that's like the hair a lot of people like, preferably blonde, which will come from whiteness. So you see a lot of these don't exist within one culture. And I'm not saying there's not that perfectly thin white woman who naturally has a medium-sized butt, bust, big lips, straight hair, blonde, has like tan white skin. Maybe she exists. How attainable and how realistic is that for everybody? It's not. And that's the whole point of the beauty standard. It's not attainable for most people. I think a 2021 article by Natalie Morris for The Guardian puts it best. It is not mixedness that is being glorified then, but simply the aesthetic of ambiguity and, crucially, being close enough to whiteness. And that's the key word here, being close to whiteness. So if one ethnicity cannot possess all of the beauty standards, and by the way, there's more, those were just some that I picked out. If we wanted to go into all the beauty standards, we'll be here all day. It'll be several parts videos. We're going to stay on track, and we're going to move on to what happens when you realize that you don't fit that beauty ideal, or that one ethnicity, one person just cannot naturally possess all those things, especially as beauty evolves. It's ever evolving. And if people want to keep up with the beauty standard, they have only one option, which is to turn to cosmetic and plastic surgery. But before we deep dive into plastic surgery, I wanted to take a detour and dive in slightly on the subculture of beauty standards. Depending on your everyday environment, the beauty standards that directly affect you might look different versus what affects you when you go on social media. Being a person who was born into Black community and the African Black community, I was affected slightly differently on the beauty standard. Growing up, I was always considered way too skinny. While thinness is appreciated on social media globally or in the white beauty standard, in the Black beauty standard, slim, thick, has always been in, or at least for as long as I can remember. Now, it's not everybody, because slim thick is what has over time attracted the male gaze in the Black community. And while slim thick might seem easier to achieve than ultra thinness, do not fall into that trap, because it is not. Some people are naturally thin. I was naturally on the thinner side, so it's not like I could eat myself into slim thickness. But also, while people may scream thick thighs save lives, they don't want you to have it with a thick gut or a bigger gut. But that's what naturally comes with a lot of those things. Yeah, they want somebody who has the proportions of the Coke figure, but then they want it the way they do. They will still scrutinize cellulite, stretch marks, and a big stomach or a not flat stomach. But there is one beauty standard in the world. No matter where you are, you can't escape it. It lingers in every corner of the world. And that is a skin that is as close to white as possible.
Would you poison yourself to be prettier? Welcome to the 18th century, where beauty isn't pain. It's poison. Being white is beautiful. This is not a black versus white thing. It's actually not about race. It's about money. If you're wealthy, you don't have to go outside to work, so you don't tan. So if you're rich, you're very light. My white lead and vinegar paint can cause infertility. And since I'm a woman in the 18th century, my value is to give my husband babies. So I look beautiful, but I risk losing my value as a woman. I'm probably gonna go into menopause early and cause skin damage, but I can cover it with more lead paint. And to highlight how white my skin is, I'm adding blue veins. Eyebrows were crescent shaped and often drawn with lead because we needed more poison. And if you don't have brows, we can glue on some made from moose fur. Blush was either red or pink and a circle on the cheeks. Lips, a pink or coral pout. If it's giving porcelain doll, I did it right. And for my smallpox scars that the white lead paint didn't cover, beauty patches. And where I put it means something. Under the eye, passion. Forehead meant majestic, playful. If it was rumored that your makeup was poisonous, would you still wear it? Do you even know what's in your makeup?
So the lighter, the better. And in the Black community, that manifests in the way of colorism. And because that beauty standard has been thriving for decades, if not centuries, and continues to thrive today, so has the skin bleaching industry. A 2019 article in Vogue by Audrey Nobel reads, "It is an ancient process that can be traced all the way back to the 1500s and continues to be a thriving business, coming in all forms of soap, creams, pills, and injectables." Per a recent World Health Organization report, half of the population in Korea, Malaysia, and the Philippines use some kind of skin lightening treatment. It is even higher in India, 60%, and African countries such as Nigeria, 77%. It is also more common in the US than many realize, with bleaching agents such as hydrochloroquine commonly used in products that treat discoloration and hyperpigmentation. By 2027, the skin whitening industry is projected to be worth over $24 billion, but it's a business fraught with potential hazards. As someone who grew up in Ghana, not only did I see firsthand the prominent use of bleaching products, but also the result of long-term use of bleaching products, especially in a country that has so much sun exposure and also limited access and use of sunscreen. Let's move on to the next part, which is attaining and maintaining the beauty standards. Attaining and maintaining the beauty standard is not only psychologically tasking, but is also financially burdensome. Cosmetic procedures, plastic surgery, skincare products, hair care products, makeups are some of the few expenses that goes along with attaining and trying to maintain the beauty standards. The same article by Leah Donnella called Beauty in the Eyes of the Colonizer, decisions about who society holds up as beautiful also has a lot to do with class. Nell Irene Painter notes that a lot of things that we consider beautiful are just proxies for wealth. Think about how much it costs to get cosmetic surgery or braces or even a facial.
Clean girl aesthetic is peak toxic femininity. Hear me out. When people say they want a natural woman, what they actually mean is they want a woman with no visible signs of cosmetic intervention. And that has been the fashion for 250 years. Every year, natural beauty is repackaged with a modern buzzword and dished back up to us to create a further divide between the rich and the poor. Because achieving Hailey Bieber means shelling out the cash for mink eyelashes and not plastic ones, or having a job that gives you 2 hours to sit getting perfect gels rather than the $7 stick-ons from the drugstore that you will probably beat up because you work a job with your hands. And here is where I think where natural beauty is more insidious than cake faces. Because at least with the cake face, you get self-expression. Natural beauty has got nothing to do with self-expression and everything to do with hiding your insecurities, covering acne scars, fine lines, wrinkles, whatever. So you begin your day in the bathroom with the same old riddle, which is, what on this hideous canvas do I need to cover today? And then you get to work. Blotting, covering, hiding, contouring, all while strengthening your fear of aging and fear of ugliness. We are all walking around in varying degrees of fakeness trying to mask insecurities. So don't assume that just because you're attracted to the woman with the low ponytail and the dewy skin, that she is any more beautiful than her sister with extensions.
The cost of cosmetic procedures depends on where you live, what you're looking to do, and how much you're willing to pay for it. According to the National Society of Plastic Surgeons, the average cost of a rhinoplasty, which is commonly known as a nose job in the United States, is around $5,409, while a facelift can cost approximately $8,005. But I've heard of facelifts and neck lifts going all the way upwards of $250,000 for the top celebrity plastic surgeons. Liposuction is also another common procedure, and it goes for around $3,637 on average. And remember, this is just the cost of procedure. It does not include anesthesia, which a lot of these procedures you do have to go under anesthesia, as well as operating room expenses and other costs that comes with it. Sometimes getting well, you need an in-nurse to help you. If you say get a BBL and you can't really move around that much, you need somebody to help you for a number of days before you can really be on your own to care for yourself. In a way, people are treating their bodies like a house they buy for a flip, where you get a bunch of money, do renovations for a higher value, but this value is the value you hope to get in society in treatments and opportunities. I believe that when God created us, He did not do an incomplete job and give us our face and body as a suggestion of what we could look like, possibly, and that if we did more, we could look better. I see myself as a complete work of God. All I can do is do my best to take care of myself. So we're going to end part 1 right here. Click in the description for the link for part 2. And you can also go to the full-length video. But we just don't start getting bombarded with the ideas of beauty when we grow up. It starts in childhood. I think one of the most significant pieces of media that we consume as children in relation to beauty is Snow White, a classic fairy tale that undercovers the significant emphasis placed on beauty. If you're interested in reading the articles that I read to put together this video, I'll be putting them in the description box. But with all that being said, thank you all so much. Be sure to like this video if you liked it. I'm working so hard on it, so please give it a like, share with people, share on your social media, share with anyone who you think will benefit from this conversation. And I look forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.